Okay, we're in the Q&A.
You've been drinking a lot of coffee this morning, Mark.
See? You didn't know that, Peter, did you? Did you know that I've never tasted coffee in my life? It's true.
It doesn't surprise me.
It's true. Okay, so...
it's interesting because the guy I work with now real closely has never tasted coffee either.
Isn't that awesome?
And I drink enough for both of you.
It's a substitute for what Mark has.
It
must be. I don't know.
I want to meet him, Tom, because there's not a lot of people. There's not a lot of people on the planet that have never tasted coffee. I think that's just so cool. Before we open up the lines, Tom and Peter, any other? I know we flew through these.
Peter had a question. I'd really like to hear what it was.
Nice.
Well, I don't know whether it's a question or a statement, but right from the beginning, Mark, I said to you, I'm just trying to figure out this, to be more systematic, to be efficient, right? And Tom brought up the same, similar, or made a similar comment earlier about, how you visually, it depends how you receive information, but, you cover a huge amount of territory, right? And then, you do certainly keep bringing it back to the quadrants on that circle. And my mind was just trying to, get around, and you often make the comment, how do you get C-level people to engage in something like this or see the opportunity, right, to get to drive to get every employee to go through it. And, I still trying to figure out how you get all the elements that you have. And you reel off, there's 500 of this or 1,600 permutations of that. And it's getting the essence of those things boiled down, but expandable again. So, I don't know how many pictures of screenshots of this bullseye I've got as it kind of evolves, because, I'm trying to get it into a state in my mind and on paper or interactively where you can walk somebody through it at a high level so they get it, and then draw them in, stair-stepping them through so that they start to really understand how you get leverage from it. And it's like having this great product that's got so many features and functionality, but how do you get it into an order with milestones that allow you to take people on that journey? Because when you look back over the months and how much ground's covered, I keep going back trying to think, okay, how do I pull the milestone out of this in an order in which people can digest it, right? So that they log the milestones that it takes to become more comprehensive in this instance, creating leverage, right? But it spills over into so many things. So I think, Tom's right. On the one side you've got the 530 grid, which if you like looking at grids and those kinds of things, you can either get excited about it or get lost in it. And I keep coming back. How do you make this an obvious stair-stepping or milestones to get so people can see at the beginning the power of the content without having to show all the content, but then be able to work through it in a kind of logical, compounding way. That was what I wanted to say.
I would suggest that you start with personality masteries. To me, that's the bedrock, because I think everything kind of builds off of that process. So if I were building a team right now, I would want them to go through that system first, because I think that gives them some insight into themselves as well as to the other people that they're going to be working with. Then as an organization, and I use it even today, I use the 5 part of the 530. And it's interesting when I walk real estate brokers through those 5 areas in a sales organization. and talk about marketing and pre-sale and sales and implementation and follow up and so on. And then I explain what each of them responsibilities are, and then walk it through in the context of a real estate brokerage or a real estate sale transaction. It's the real estate salesperson who does all 5 of those things, when in reality you hired him to do one thing: sell, list and find buyers and find people to buy the homes. And yet we tag them in our industry to do all 5 of them and think that's just great. Where if we took the other 4 and as an organization and pulled them out and we took care of them the way they should be taken care of, especially number 2. Number 2 to me is the key. Then all of a sudden I could start to reduce my commission structures, which would then increase my retained earnings, my what we call company dollar, my percent of a company dollar, which then would allow me to pay my bills and still come out with a higher profit at the bottom. I don't know if that made a lot of sense to anybody, but
it did to me.
That's how I would start the process. And then when you go into this, now you're bringing it all together. Personality Masteries is just an unbelievable program as far as I'm concerned.
Questions, thoughts? Ski, any questions or thoughts that you have?
Yes, boy, both Peter and Tom hit the nail on the head. First of all, Tom's point about personality mastery. I look at this like leverage is like advanced calculus when you look at the whole thing. But personality mastery is like your basic math. And if you get that down, you have a foundation to start to learn this. So I agree, because what Peter was saying is something that's been on my mind for a while, about how to do that to make it so that you can actually bring people in slowly as opposed to dropping them into advanced calculus. Here's my question, though. Mark, if everything's numbered for a process, 1 through 8, what happened? Could you go through engineered clarity starting with thinking power and then covering thinking connection and then thinking detail and then thinking, what would happen then? Does that work? Or?
Well, you can go any different direction, like we learned, like in the internalization, we learned that you can go ahead and it goes one way, but then it can flip another way. So you could teach it, do, think, and see, think, and do, think, see, and do, think, do, and see. You can take these, every one of these, and you can take those and teach them in different, arenas. I would go through, like Tom said, the personality course, do that first, and then I would go ahead and do the internalization. But again, you can do internalization and then go ahead and do personality. That's what you're doing, Ski. So I think C-level people, like C-level executives, it's like they want to get their people to think nonlinear, but all they do is teach them linear. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Mm-hmm. And so when we learn to think linear and nonlinear simultaneously, there's advantages to both sides. I believe Tom and Peter are right now having the wizard work on a white paper on quantum thinking, which is, when you look at quantum thinking, like quantum computers versus regular computers, it's a totally different animal on how to think in a very different way. And when you look at the marketplace and everything that's going on with artificial intelligence, we need to learn to think in a very different way than the educational system has taught us to. Questions, thoughts? Speaking of education, Nicole with Untangled Minds is here today. Nicole, questions, thoughts you have?
Yeah, back in the beginning, you asked Peter, how do you know when and when not to listen to the analytics? And it was really cool to hear, the encouraging, challenging what was said, or encouraging questions to understand. When do you know the difference?
Between what?
When to do what? When to do each?
So,
well, if you can go ahead.
Well, that's life. yeah, that's life. You don't, Nicole. Like you don't. You're always, because you're infinitely complex and people around you and every situation's different. And so there's times you trust your right-sided brain. There's times you trust your left side of your brain. You're continually shifting and learning new things. That's part of, that's what it's like to be a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And so
right.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there comes a point, at least for me, where I don't have to understand everything in analytics thing, and I'll just use the context engineering or manufacturing or something, right? But it doesn't matter what. It's outside the bounds of my ability to know exactly or understand exactly whether something's going to work or not, right? But there's a point where when you're talking to an analytic, let's say, and then I can be an analytic in certain situations, but there's a point where you understand enough to have confidence that what they're telling you has a high probability of getting a result. So I don't have to know exactly how they're doing it, even though I may be asking questions or challenging the status quo to bring me closer to their understanding. There comes a point where your confidence says, through asking questions or challenging, that says we're in a good enough position to move. So it's not that you'll always understand completely. It's a question of getting the 2 parties, 3 parties, or however many parties there are to a point where they believe they got an optimal result.
Oh, real quick, before I forget, Ski, what was it like, to go ahead and meet yesterday before today's session? Was that helpful, beneficial?
Yeah, I think it was beneficial. I think it probably helped Randy the most. He had some questions, and Tom was very helpful in clarifying that. So I think we need to probably come in with better intention, though, before those sessions. I think they could be really valuable. Yep.
Tom, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I guess this was talked about last week.
Yesterday on the pre.
Yeah.
So Monday.
I just saw it on the calendar. I had no idea what it was.
Oh, okay.
And then so I thought, well, thank God I had a little bit of time open at that point, so I just dialed in. I had no idea what we were going to do, and so I was kind of just feeling my way through it, I guess, which meant I probably talked way too much.
I'm guessing Ski and Randy were fine with that. So Peter last week came up with the idea that that groups of people like the art mentors, the art buddies, should go ahead and meet the day before so they can come into this session with more intention. And so go ahead.
No, 2 things on that. One, if you didn't get my email, I apologize because I was on the East Coast time zone when I put that in my schedule, and then I ended up in the West and missed the damn call. But my intention last week, Mark, was to get a preempt on today's conference call, not necessarily follow up from the last one. But I guess it could be either. But the reason for that is because I think with a little extra thought on the topic, you could contribute much more to the lesson. That was where I was coming from when I suggested it last week.
So
then I guess even not knowing what the objective or outcome was, that's what I emphasized at the end. You've got to come to this meeting with your mind wide open, and most importantly, ask questions and participate in the process.
Nice. And that's where I'm on another mastermind. It's how to get your business to run without you, and then / succession planning. And one of the participants went ahead and said, Mark, you share a lot, but it'd be good to hear from others, other than you. And I said, do you know what it takes to do that? And Mark Reynolds, bless his heart, he said, the ability to interrupt you, Mark. And I said, do you know what it takes to do that? And then Beth, who owns a printing company, like third or fourth generation printing company and newspaper, she said instantly, you have to think.
Exactly.
And so, Peter understands the importance of taking notes. And Peter, I would share all your notes with everybody because people don't take notes like you take notes. Let me tell you, they don't. And so you do that to internalize the material because you're not going to waste a minute of your time. You're going to look and say, okay, I'm investing this time. How do I get the most out of it? How do I leverage my time? Well, I've got to take notes. And so you take notes. You know that if you go ahead and invest just a little bit of time, even if it's 10 minutes before, if it's just even a little bit of time, you're going to get 2 to 3 to 4 times the amount of benefit from, this. But other people, Peter, don't know that. Other people don't realize that if you meet before or you meet after and discuss, you meet before or after and discuss what we've done, what we've covered, or what we're going to cover, you're going to get 10 times the amount. But other people don't know that. Peter, do you realize that?
Now you say it, I guess I do, but I didn't when I said it last week. Particularly, I just knew what it would do for me, selfishly.
See, and I knew that you went ahead and were different than everybody else because people come up with great ideas, good ideas all the time, great ideas more frequently than what they think, but then they don't act on those ideas quickly. And so you went ahead and killed the idea really quick. You went ahead and said, okay, when are we going to do it? Monday, bam, and you just pulled the trigger and you just did it right then and there, which I thought was awesome. And so people will overthink things, overplan things, they'll overconsider things, they'll go ahead and have all these intentions, open loops, we need to do stuff, but then they won't actually do it. Marie, Jill, or Elise, any thoughts, questions any of you have?
Who's my ARR?
You can connect with Elise on that, and she'll give you that information. Okay. Other questions? Thoughts? Okay, so for those that are listening to the rebroadcast, your art buddy, the art system, is what's really, really important. And then engineered clarity, clarity.dna4success.com. So clarity.dna4success.com. There's tons of resources there. You'll want to tap into that. And so for the next couple weeks, you guys are going to be running this, on your own without me. And I'm excited to, be in Hawaii for a couple weeks with my daughter, my wife, my daughter, my son-in-law. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to coming back because what we're going to do is finish up the course. And so we've got 3 more lessons that we're going to do. But if we don't have the ask questions, if we don't have the listen, if we don't have the see, if we don't have the think down, if we don't have those foundations in place, if we haven't internalized how these 4 things are going to change our life forever, well, then we're going to get marginal benefit out of the course. If we don't understand, like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, if we don't understand that every single person in our organization needs to go through this course, well then Peter, Tom, and I have failed in delivering the material. because if somebody doesn't go through the course, now the course is not going to fix every problem within your company or organization or group of people. It's a start. It's a starting point. It exposes people to ways of thinking that maybe they never thought of before or they hadn't thought of at that level. And so having somebody come in maybe that does the coaching or consulting, or maybe doing seminars, or maybe having, mastermind groups. So there's a whole bunch of different ways, because as you can see in every lesson, when you drill deeper into this stuff, there's so much benefit that comes from it. There's so much depth that comes from it. Tom, any other closing thoughts, insights, perspectives you would have?
It's interesting. I was just sitting here thinking about when you were talking about leverage and engineered clarity and internalization. And to me, it's almost like leverage is leverage for outcome, whatever that may be.
Nice. Yeah, having 7 kids, 3 sons-in-laws, a daughter-in-law, 5 grandkids, I'm really like, how do I leverage? How do I impact that next generation? So you're right. It's not just business. It's not just sales. It's not just for profit. It's how do you have life?
Any outcome you want to have.
Anything. That's exactly right. And how do you help people internalize that to understand you take leverage and it will help you in every area of your life? This is why I think it's so powerful for every employee, every team member, every board member, every family member, everyone that you know to go through it, because then they've been exposed to similar types of thinking. And so it gives them the ability, if somebody's utilizing leverage to have a better marriage, well, they're going to be a better employee. If somebody utilizes this in understanding their children, well, they're going to understand our customers better too. So the thing that I believe about all of Life Masteries and Legacy Partners courses is they're not just for business and they're not just for personal. They cross over and connect all areas of our lives, which is really powerful. Peter, any closing thoughts you have?
No, I think I've got the host of notes. If everybody's still willing to meet next week on Monday, I'd be happy to show up this time.
Cool. I think you'll have a number of takers on that. That's great. Ski, any thoughts that you have?
I don't, but I do have a couple words. Can I have 2 instead of 1?
Absolutely.
Intentional and challenge.
Nice. Peter, your 1 word.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to ask me. Well, revealing. That's the one I keep going back to each time I come on these calls.
Tom.
Clarity.
Murray. Jill, or go ahead, Marie.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
You saw the wood burning?
Jill, Elise.
Application.
Nice. Mine, nice. Enlightening. Mine, I keep coming back to awakening. It's like I think I learn more, and I want everybody to learn, but it's like it's awakening, it's enlightening for me, where I'm starting to connect dots in the 33 years of marriage and the 30 years of raising kids, and I'm starting to see how this interconnects in every area of our life, which is just really, really cool. Any suggestions for individuals going through the course on what they could do to gain more benefit now that we're past the halfway part, and or what could be done to improve the course to help individuals gain more effectiveness from it? other than Peter's suggestion, which is what's called the periodic table for personality masteries, or Tom's suggestion. Essentially, that's what you guys were talking about. So, Tom, you're familiar with the 530 grid. So it's essentially putting together a 530 grid for personality masteries.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hope I don't go ahead and get that done. I hope that someday in Hawaii, I wake up in the morning, or I'm on the beach, or I'm jumping off the cliff with my daughter, something crazy, that all of a sudden the periodic table for personality masteries, kicks in. Nice. Any other suggestions or thoughts?
Review previous lessons. I mean, I run through my notes each time from previous lessons that I've written down, not everything, but just bullets that I want to remember, make a habit.
Why do you think that's so hard for people to do that, Peter?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, because if I'm in attendance for something, then I want something in return that I can take away. So, I mean, I don't know. I value my time, I guess.
It's very unusual. I mean, there's less. I mean, I've traveled all around the world, and there's maybe a handful, maybe 6 or 7 people that I've ever met that do that like you do. Like, you're a machine at it. So I don't know how to help people internalize, like, think about what you really want, like we talked about with Tom, with different steps. What do you really want, and are you willing to go ahead and do what it takes to get what you want? And one of those things is to go ahead and take diligent notes. One of those things is to, review those notes. If you want to take it and go even deeper with it, then write a white paper. If you want to go even deeper with that, then go ahead and write a book. If you want to go deeper than that, go ahead and do a seminar. There's another mastermind group. It's called Master and Monetize, Discovering Your Life Story, learn it, how to tell it, and then turn it into passive income. Unbelievable. It's called M&M, Master and Monetize. All right, so again, thanks everyone for your participation. If you're going through the course, hopefully you're connected in with a great art buddy, art mentor. If you have any questions in going through the course and you're just not getting the value you want to, we want you to get the value. Life Mastery's Legacy Partners, they are committed to making this the best course that you've ever been through in your life. And to do that, they need to have a human being that can talk to you. And they'll do that. So again, if you have any questions, need some help, talk to your art buddy or your art mentor, your 2 art buddies, the art host. And if you need further help than that, feel free to connect with the individual who invited you, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300. Or if you're calling in outside the U.S., 630-393-9909. That's 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless. Have an amazing day. Bye.